Hi, welcome to the garden. Riley and I wanted to talk to you for a second. We've had some very interesting questions lately about nitrates in the soil. Now, we went over how to root a sucker and to plant it. Look what you get. I've got tomatoes 6 feet tall. That cleans our sucker up pretty nice. I have left a few on here. There's a sucker. There's a sucker. Got one over here. The sun is so intense right now, you can let some of your upper suckers shade out the leaves below. And of course, what I just removed were damaged leaves. They're not getting as much sun. They're not photosynthesizing as much. And that brings me to today's questions. And all of them are based around how the deep mulch actually works. You know that bacteria makes nitrates, and the first basic plants use those nitrates. Fast forward a little bit more, we've got funguses showing up and more advanced plant life. And as we now know, funguses make ammonium type of nitrates. And for our gardens, we need a nice balance. The bacteria produce nitrates and the fungus produce ammoniums. Then we can grow the crops that we like to eat. Now, in a commercial operation, they buy the nitrate by the semi-load. And all we've talked about so far is the nitrates and the ammoniums. We haven't really even talked about plants. Okay, so the earth is made up of rock. Then comes the bacteria, which makes nitrates, and the fungus, which makes ammoniums. Those break down the minerals out of the rock of the earth and make them plant soluble, right at the root zone. Now we're going to talk about plants a little bit. So the plants can't move, but their roots go out. And with the water and nice loose soil, it allows bacteria and fungus to migrate under the ground. We can't see it, but it's moving. I'm not making this up. Our government has a chart of the soil food web, of the micro critters all the way up to the bigger critters, how they move, how they interact in the soil. So right there at the root zone, there's a working relationship between the bacteria, the fungus, and the plants. And then we go back to the sun, and the carbon and the nitrogen, which are in the leaves, which make photosynthesis. And that is a wonderful machine which turns sunlight and carbon dioxide that I'm breathing out into oxygen, which I'm breathing in. It's one big circle. It all works together. It's a pretty good system. And it is wonderful how the entire web of life works together. That is awesome. Now, I've really simplified this a lot, but here's a couple truths. If you want to grow things, whether it's in your backyard, whether it's commercially, the plants need a few things. They need sun, they need water, they need nitrogen, and they need carbon. They also want to be fed. And we can do it the way nature intended through the cooperation of bacteria and funguses and the rocks and minerals in the earth, or we can supply that. And to supply that, you have to truck in nitrates and ammoniums, which are nitrates. One of the things we should be aware of is pollution in the environment. But all of that pollution is made up of stuff that was already here. And that earth acts as a filter. So anything that's fallen on my garden, has fallen on the neighbor's garden, has fallen on the farm down the road. Thankfully, through the sun, and the water, and evaporation and rain, it does have a filter system, but we don't want that pollution. Well, look at that. We'll see if we get another little yellow watermelon. And in nature, the ground wants to stay covered. In my garden, I've got sweet potato leaves over this entire area and deep mulch, because that's what I want to have growing. In nature, whatever seeds have been dispersed, that's what's going to grow there. When the sun hits bare ground directly, it can raise that temperature up over 100 degrees, 115, 120 degrees. Go out there and put your hand on that. That kills all the life. It kills those upper roots of anything that's even trying to grow in that open soil. That's one of the survival mechanisms that the earth has. So we can mimic that by bringing out deep mulch and laying it in 4 inches thick or thicker. We preserve the water. We allow that micro life to thrive. We keep the temperature moderated. And then we can select the plants that we want to grow. And they do pretty good. And again, I'm not making this stuff up. Dr. Elaine Ingham, The Living Soil, the Soil Food Web, you can check out her work. It's all about the life in the soil and how it interacts with the plants. Since I've adopted this deep mulch, I do almost no weeding, and the most work I do out here is harvesting. And you've been along for that. Now, if you want to make a change, change the way you do things. If you want to make a big change, change the way you see things. And for years, I was on the end of a hoe, we plowed, we tilled, we put down fertilizer. Kind of hard to wrap your head around the soil food web, the web of life, how this all actually works together. But when you sit down and you change the way you see things, it really does make sense. And I brought you along in my garden for the last 3 years. I did it 2 years before I brought you in just to make sure I wasn't completely out of my mind. And you've seen the results. We have had some failures along the way, but nothing like I used to have. And our successes, we produce more food than I can give away to our friends and family. You can do this too. Riley, and I want to thank you for stopping by the garden, listening to us talk about soil. Till next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's go to the house. Let's go to the house. Come on, let's plant.
Let's go plant garden.